So now you should have all your parts open, and here we are. We have our 4 motors, our 4 SEs, our shrink tubes, our lock nuts, and our collection of screws for the 4mm arms. This is a good time to take our ice cube tray and put our nuts, our lock nuts away so we don't lose them, and take our shrink tube and put that away because we're going to need that later. Here's the point that I'm going to need my glasses. In this step, we're going to connect our motors to our ESCs. We're going to need to cut the motor wire to about 45 millimeters. So I'm going to take my ruler and just measure up to about 45. And I pull that out, and I can see if I put my thumbnail right there, that's about 45 millimeters. Take your wire cutters and cut it right at the edge of your thumb. Just like that. And that should be exactly 45, close enough. You want to cut them all about the same length. So just repeat the process. Lay them out, get those wires flat. Get your thumb, and get your thumb on that 45 millimeter mark, and cut. Now this isn't rocket science. You don't have to be empirically perfect every time. About 45. And 45. Because, we're going to be trimming these later when we strip them, and there'll be a little variation, but that's good enough. Okay, perfect. Very good. And if they're maybe just off a little, it's okay to just give a little extra snip. Now all of our motors are about the same size of wire. Perfect. Time to strip all of our motor wires to length. Take your wire cutters and a piece of scrap wire and make sure that you can strip it nice and cleanly. And be sure you always give it a little twist when you're done. We got our wire cutters all set. So there we go. 1, 2, 3. You'll notice I'm only making them large enough so that they will solder to the size of the pad on the ESC. We just need a little bit. So notice the stripped wire lengths. What I want to show right now is you can see how big the pads are in the ESC and how wide the tips are on the wires. They're just the right size to match those pads. So every motor, be sure you give a twist to the wires to keep those wires nice and tight. Yeah, you can see I'm a right-handed person. So now we have to tin our wires and we have to tin all of our ESC pads. That's the next step. I like to bring out my helping hands and use it to hold my wires when I do my tinning. Be sure you wipe your soldering tip, apply a little solder on there, and just 1, 2, 3, tin the wires. Make sure we have a nice coating of tin on there. I like to wipe my tip between tinnings. I like a clean tip. Tinning doesn't take long. It just helps bind the two solder points together. And there we go. All of our wire tips are tinned. We're going to tin our ESCs now. So real simple, just touch that. Oh, that did not want to flow. Oh, there's flux. I might need that. Okay, we're going to tin our ESCs now. The solder seemed to have a little trouble taking, so I put a little flux on there. I'm going to melt that and see if that helps. And that really did help. There we go. I'm finding I'm having a little trouble with these ESCs, so I'm putting some flux over the ends there. We can wipe them off, wipe off the extra flux with some isopropyl alcohol. Now you may not have this problem. It may just be my grade of solder. I don't know. I'm just happy I have a solution by using some flux. So let's continue. Now that we've fluxed these down, apply a little heat, and you'll see the flux helps the solder to bind. And that just makes it so much easier. So I don't have that problem I had when I started. And that sizzling is just the flux. I'm going to get a little isopropyl alcohol and use that to wipe off the excess flux after this cools down. There we go. All nice and tinned. To clean the flux off of the ESCs, I mentioned isopropyl alcohol. I often use denatured alcohol just as well. This and a Q-tip is all you need to get the excess flux off of any electronics.